where we'll be exploring the work of DoubleThink Lab.
I'm excited about this one.
Me too. This is
They're doing such fascinating work.
really interesting stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
They're an organization dedicated to defending democracy in the digital age, and
I think our listeners will be surprised
yeah,
by what DoubleThink Lab has uncovered
for sure.
and the approaches they're using to combat disinformation.
Yeah, and specifically, they're tackling disinformation campaigns,
Yeah.
often linked to China.
Yeah, it's a big focus for them.
We've got some excerpts from their website today.
The website's a treasure trove of information.
It is, yeah.
Really helps us understand their mission.
And the tools they're using.
Absolutely.
Now, the name itself, DoubleThink Lab,
Yeah.
it's a bit of a head-scratcher, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It definitely brings to
It's a
mind.
very deliberate choice.
Okay, George Orwell's 1984.
Of course.
Right.
That's the reference.
Yeah.
The term doublethink from that novel,
Right.
it describes this ability to accept two contradictory beliefs
Oh, wow.
as true at the same time.
Yeah.
Essentially a form of reality manipulation.
Hmm.
And so DoubleThink Lab chose this name
Okay.
to highlight
Interesting.
how that very concept is playing out
I see.
in the digital age.
Yeah, it's almost ironic, right?
It is, yeah.
Using a term from dystopian fiction
Yeah.
to describe a real-world threat.
A real and present threat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That we're facing right now
Absolutely.
really drives home the point.
It does.
That information manipulation is
Yeah.
a serious issue.
Absolutely. And that's what DoubleThink Lab is trying to fight.
Okay.
They're seeing this gap.
A gap.
Yeah, between democracy advocates, tech experts,
Oh, interesting.
and China specialists.
I see.
They're aiming to bridge that gap
Okay.
and build resilience against what they call digital authoritarianism.
So hold on a second.
Yeah.
Digital authoritarianism.
Yeah.
For those of us
Yeah.
who might not be
Sure.
totally familiar with that term,
Yeah,
could you break that down a bit?
of course.
What does that actually mean?
So think of it as the use of digital technologies
Okay.
to suppress
Okay.
freedom of expression, limit access to information,
Got it.
control the flow of ideas.
Okay.
So basically, using the digital space
Interesting.
to establish authoritarian rule.
So it's not just,
It's a lot bigger than that.
okay,
Yeah.
about fake news
Right.
or spreading propaganda.
It's part of it, but it's much broader.
Okay.
It's about controlling the narrative
I see.
and ultimately
Uh-huh.
people's behavior.
And DoubleThink Lab recognizes that this is a
It's multifaceted.
a multifaceted problem.
Which is why they developed this three-pronged approach.
Okay.
They focus on digital intelligence,
Okay.
global research,
Okay.
and social engagement.
Let's dive into those a little bit.
Sure.
Starting with digital intelligence. So the-
Very high tech.
yeah, incredibly high tech.
Yeah,
And a little intimidating.
a little bit.
What's actually happening there?
So imagine digital detectives
Okay.
using cutting-edge tools
Mhm.
to track and analyze online influence operations.
I see.
That's what DoubleThink Lab's digital intelligence team does.
Oh, wow.
They're mapping these campaigns, identifying the players involved, understanding the tactics they use,
Wow.
and even pinpointing their targets.
So it's not just about catching
Nope.
individual instances of fake news.
It's much bigger than that.
Okay.
They're looking at the entire system,
Wow.
the infrastructure of these campaigns.
That's incredible.
And here's the really cool part.
Yeah.
They're not hoarding this knowledge.
Okay.
They provide access and training for their tools
Wow.
so others can conduct their own investigations.
That's amazing.
They're building this global network of digital defenders.
It's like they're creating a community of informed citizens
Yeah.
who can help identify and push back against disinformation in their own corners of the world.
That's the goal.
That's a really fantastic approach.
It is.
Now, their global research is equally
It
fascinating.
is, yeah.
They collaborate with partners worldwide
Mm-hmm.
to analyze China's influence in sectors like politics, economics, media, and academia.
It's really comprehensive.
So they're looking beyond just the digital realm
Yeah.
and understanding how China's influence operates
In the real world.
in the real world. They
Exactly.
even developed a project called the China Index.
This is a fascinating one.
Yeah, what is that?
It measures China's influence in over 30 countries
Wow.
across all these different sectors.
It's really interesting.
It gives a really fascinating comparative perspective
Okay.
on how widespread this influence is.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually explore it yourself
Oh, cool.
at china-index.io.
I'm definitely adding that to my list.
Do it.
Now, what about their social engagement work?
Oh,
How does that tie into
Yeah.
the fight against disinformation.
This is where they get into the human element.
Oh.
They conduct research to understand
Okay.
what makes individuals vulnerable to propaganda and disinformation.
That's really interesting.
It's about recognizing
Yeah.
that technology is only one piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
The other piece is understanding
I see.
how our own psychology can make us susceptible
Yeah.
to manipulation.
That's a really crucial point.
It is.
Yeah, it's easy to think that we're immune.
Right. We think we're smarter than that,
Yeah,
but we're all susceptible.
to some degree.
Yeah.
So how does DoubleThink Lab use this research
Okay.
to actually help people?
They analyze the structure of propaganda and identify the mechanisms
Yeah.
that make it so effective.
Okay.
And then they use this knowledge to develop interventions
Oh, in-depth.
and strategies
Okay.
to counter it.
So it's like they're studying the playbook of disinformation
Yeah, you could say that.
to create a counter playbook.
Exactly.
Oh, gosh,
They also run capacity building training programs
oh, wow.
to equip regional stakeholders
Okay.
with the skills to do similar research
Interesting.
in their own communities.
That's really cool.
Is building that global network.
Yeah, like a grassroots movement
Yeah,
to
exactly.
fight disinformation from the ground up.
That's the idea.
Now, on top of all of that,
Mm-hmm.
DoubleThink Lab has some,
We could talk about them for hours.
yeah, really fascinating projects
Yeah.
that showcase their approach in action.
Let's highlight a couple.
Yeah.
One that stands out is called Escape the Mist.
Okay. Escape the Mist.
Disinfo Walkthrough.
Disinfo walkthrough.
It's a website
Okay.
they created with Innovation for Change, East Asia Hub.
Okay. So Escape the Mist. That sounds
Is a great name.
intriguing. What's the goal of this website?
It's designed to help people navigate the increasingly murky waters of online information.
I like that.
Yeah. So it offers tools and research
Mhm.
to help you fact-check information,
Okay.
recognize propaganda,
Right.
counter conspiracy theories,
So it's like,
a digital survival guide
I like that.
for the age of disinformation.
That's a brilliant way to put it.
Yeah,
It's empowering people to be more critical consumers of information
exactly.
and avoid falling prey
To all these
to
tactics.
these tactics.
Yeah.
Where can we find Escape the Mist?
It's at fight-dis.info.
Okay, I'll check that out.
Great.
Now, I understand DoubleThink Lab
Yeah.
also has a specific project
They do?
focused on countering
Right.
Tiananmen massacre denialism.
A very sensitive topic.
Yeah, really sensitive.
It is, yeah.
An important topic.
Absolutely.
This website is dedicated to providing tools
Right.
for identifying and understanding
Mm-hmm.
the propaganda and disinformation
Yeah.
surrounding that tragic event.
It's all about equipping users to counter those attempts
Yeah.
to rewrite history.
It's a really important project.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad they're tackling this head on.
Me too.
Where can we find that?
It's at tianmen-trolls.doublethinklab.org.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about their research for a minute. Okay,
Okay.
I know they've published a lot of reports and analyses.
Yeah.
Are there any highlights that really demonstrate
Yeah.
the type of work they do?
One major report.
Okay.
Deafening whispers. China's information operation and Taiwan's 2020 election.
Deafening whispers. Okay.
It analyzes how China used disinformation tactics
Wow.
to try and influence the outcome of that election.
That's a perfect example of how
Yeah.
these tactics are being used in
In the real world.
real world situations
Absolutely.
with potentially significant consequences.
I states.
Yeah, what's particularly interesting
Oh.
about this report?
The initial findings were released in late 2020,
Okay.
but the full report didn't launch until May 2021.
Oh, wow.
This staggered approach allowed them to incorporate
Oh.
new information
Oh, interesting.
and adapt their analysis as the situation evolved.
So they're not just
Rather-
publishing static reports.
It's a living document.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're actively engaging with,
It's a very dynamic situation.
right, the evolving nature of disinformation.
Absolutely.
And recognizing that,
Things are changing all the time.
yeah, that these are dynamic situations.
Yeah, exactly.
Who knows?
They've also done some fascinating analysis
Okay.
on how the narrative of the Nazification of Ukraine
Nazification of Ukraine. Okay.
was portrayed in the Chinese information space.
Oh, wow.
That was a complex one.
Yeah, that must have been a complex
It was, yeah.
and sensitive topic.
Definitely.
Yeah, to unpack.
They released that analysis in March 2022,
Okay.
just as the situation in Ukraine
Right, as things were really
was
no.
folding up.
Yeah.
They also have an updated observatory.
An observatory.
It tracks Mandarin language, information operations concerning Russia's invasion of Ukraine,
Okay.
which is constantly evolving
So
as new information surfaces
updated
all the time.
all the time. It
Yeah.
sounds like they're working tirelessly.
They are
Yeah, to stay on top of current events
trying to keep up.
and understand how propaganda
Yeah,
is being used to shape narratives around global conflicts.
it's a big part of their work.
Wow. What else?
Their work goes beyond just these major geopolitical events.
Okay.
They also analyze the impact of false information
Oh,
on Taiwanese voters
oh, wow.
using exit polls from the 2020 elections.
Interesting.
They've even investigated the control and influence at Guancha News.
Guancha News.
Yeah, it's a popular Chinese online media portal.
I see.
So they're looking at both
So they're looking at both
a macro
the macro and the micro level,
Yeah.
from international elections
Yeah.
to individual
media outlets.
media outlets.
A really comprehensive approach.
Yeah, it really is.
And behind all this incredible work
Mm-hmm.
are some very dedicated individuals.
I bet.
The chairperson of DoubleThink Lab
Okay.
is Dr. Lennon Chang,
Dr. Lennon Chang. Okay.
an expert in cyber risk and policy.
So we've got some serious
Yeah, he's a big deal.
expertise at
Yeah.
the helm.
Absolutely.
What can you tell me about Dr. Chang?
His research focuses on cybercrime,
Okay.
cyber terrorism, and cyber warfare.
Wow.
He's also the founder of the Australasian Taiwan Studies Association
Okay.
and co-founder of the Australia-Taiwan Club.
Wow.
He was even recognized as one of Taiwan's 10 outstanding overseas young persons in 2023.
That's really impressive.
Very impressive.
He sounds like a real powerhouse
He
in the
is.
cybersecurity world.
Absolutely.
And then there's Wu Min-swan.
Also known as TCAT.
T-Cat. Okay.
He's the co-founder and CEO of DoubleThink Lab.
Okay.
His focus is on mapping China's online information operations
Mm-hmm.
and facilitating this global CSO network.
So they have both
Yeah.
the academic
Side.
and activist
Perspectives covered.
perspectives covered. Yeah.
Yeah.
What else can you tell me about T-Cat?
He's been deeply involved in activism
Okay.
for over 15 years,
Wow.
working across movements like LGBTIQA plus rights,
Uh-huh.
environmentalism,
Mm-hmm.
open government, and digital rights.
That's really inspiring
It is.
to see.
Uh-huh.
He's clearly committed
Yeah.
to making the world a better place,
Yeah,
both
yeah.
online and offline.
For sure.
Yeah, his experience across
Right.
such diverse movements.
It gives him a unique perspective.
Yeah, it must give him a unique understanding of how information,
Right. How it can be used
both true and false,
to shape public opinion
yeah, can be used to shape public opinion and ultimately
and action.
people's actions.
Yeah.
It's a powerful reminder that
I like that.
disinformation doesn't exist in a vacuum.
Right.
It's deeply intertwined with
Social and political issues.
yeah, social and political issues that impact all of us.
For sure.
That's why the work
Yeah.
that DoubleThink Lab is doing
Absolutely.
is so incredibly important.
Could not agree more.
They're shining a light
Yeah.
on a very real threat
To democracy.
to democracy
Hmm.
and giving us the tools to recognize and resist it.
Let's go.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground
We have
in this first part
a lot of information.
of our deep dive into DoubleThink Lab.
Yeah, fascinating stuff.
We've explored their mission,
Mhm.
their three-pronged approach,
Right.
their key projects,
Yep.
and the incredible
People behind it all.
people behind it all.
Driving the work.
But before we move on,
Yeah.
I'd like to hear your biggest takeaway
Sure.
from what we've learned so far.
Yep.
What stands out to you the most?
Honestly, it's their commitment to empowering individuals.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, they're not just analyzing the problem.
Right.
They're actively working to equip people
I like that.
with the knowledge and tools
Yeah.
to become critical thinkers
Mm.
and resist manipulation.
I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
They're recognizing that the battle against disinformation can't be won by experts alone.
Right.
It requires,
A collective effort.
yeah, a collective effort from all of us.
Exactly.
But that's a conversation.
We'll continue it.
We can continue in the
Okay.
next part.
Thank you for listening to the Daily Mind Brew podcast. Democracy isn't a spectator sport. Check out the podcast summary for key takeaways and actions you can take to be a defender of democracy today. And now, back to the conversation.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of DoubleThink Lab.
Picking up where we left off, I'm really curious
Yeah.
to learn more about the tactics they use
Yeah.
to combat this disinformation.
It's fascinating stuff.
They're clearly not just sitting back.
No, they're not.
And
They're
observing,
proactive.
they're actively
Right.
developing strategies to push back, which,
That's what we need.
yeah, I find really encouraging.
Absolutely. Their work is incredibly proactive. And one of their key approaches
Yeah.
is exposing the networks and infrastructure
Okay.
behind these disinformation campaigns.
So they're going beyond just identifying
Right.
individual pieces of misinformation.
It's about the bigger picture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And actually trying to map out the entire system.
The whole thing.
But how do they even begin to untangle something that complex?
It's a huge challenge.
It seems like a massive
It
undertaking.
starts with data.
Okay.
Remember we talked about
Yeah.
their digital intelligence team? They're using sophisticated tools
Okay.
to track online activity,
hmm
analyze patterns,
Okay.
and identify connections between seemingly separate actors.
So instead of just looking at
Right.
one tweet
One piece of content.
or one Facebook post,
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
looking for those hidden links.
The connections,
they
the
need.
bigger picture.
Yeah, the bigger picture, it's like they're piecing together
That's a great
a
analogy.
giant puzzle. Right.
They're creating a digital map
Wow.
of this disinformation landscape,
Okay.
showing us how it flows,
Okay.
where it originates,
Okay.
and who's behind it.
And having that map,
It's crucial,
yeah, it must be incredibly valuable for
Yeah.
understanding
for sure.
how these campaigns operate
Yeah.
and who's pulling the strings.
Following the money.
That's fascinating.
What kind of insights are they able to glean from this approach?
Yeah, what kind of insights are they getting?
Well, for one thing,
Yeah.
it helps them identify
Okay.
key players and influencers
Okay.
within these networks.
All right.
These might be individuals,
Okay.
organizations,
Mhm.
or even government-backed entities.
So by understanding
Right.
who's behind these campaigns,
Follow the actors.
they can start to understand
Yeah.
their motives, their goals,
What are they trying to achieve?
and their strategies.
How are they going about it?
That's fascinating.
It allows them to be more targeted in their response
Okay, so
instead of just reacting
Yeah.
to individual instances of disinformation.
they can kind of anticipate.
Be more proactive
Yeah, anticipate the moves of
Yeah.
these actors and develop strategies
to get ahead of it.
to preempt
Yeah.
their efforts.
It's like a game of chess,
It is.
thinking several moves ahead.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And that strategic thinking is essential.
Because the landscape is constantly changing.
Yeah, it's always changing.
New technologies, platforms, tactics are emerging all the time.
It's hard to keep up.
They have to be adaptable and innovative.
Now, this kind of work can't be done in isolation, can it?
Definitely not.
I imagine they need to collaborate.
Partnerships are key.
Yeah, with a lot of different partners to be truly effective.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
DoubleThink Lab is all about
Okay.
building partnerships and networks.
Okay.
They work with researchers, journalists, activists,
Okay.
policymakers from all over the world.
So they're recognizing that disinformation
It's a global problem.
is a global problem.
Requires a global solution.
Yeah. That requires a global solution.
Exactly. No single organization or country can tackle this alone.
Yeah.
It takes a coordinated response from the international community.
It makes me think of that old saying, it takes a village.
I love that.
In this
Okay.
case, it takes a global village
Right.
to combat this disinformation effectively.
DoubleThink Lab is playing a crucial role in building that village,
Yeah.
creating a platform for collaboration,
Okay.
bringing together people from different backgrounds and expertise to share knowledge, resources, and strategies.
Now, on top of exposing networks
Yeah.
and building these collaborations,
Right.
I know that DoubleThink Lab also invests heavily in research,
Research is fundamental.
and analysis.
Yeah,
We touched on some of their research highlights earlier,
we did it.
but I'm curious to learn more
Sure.
about their methodologies.
Okay.
What are some of the tools and techniques?
It's a mix
Yeah,
they use to conduct their investigations. Well, they use a really diverse range of methods.
okay, like what?
Everything from open source intelligence gathering,
Okay.
network analysis,
Hmm.
to social media monitoring,
Okay.
computational linguistics,
Wow.
and even traditional investigative journalism.
It sounds like they're taking a multidisciplinary approach,
Very much.
combining high-tech tools
Right.
with good old-fashioned
Gonna do it.
detective work.
Sometimes you just gotta roll up your sleeves
Yeah,
and dig in.
and their findings,
Often very revealing.
yeah, are often quite revealing, aren't they?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of their work
Yeah.
on the Nazification narrative
That was a big knock.
surrounding Ukraine
Yeah.
in the Chinese information space.
A lot to unpack there.
Yeah, that must have been a complex and
Okay.
sensitive issue to investigate.
It was. And their research showed
What did it show?
how Chinese state media was very deliberately using specific language and imagery
Okay.
to push a particular narrative about the conflict,
Interesting.
clearly aiming to shape public perception.
It's a reminder that we can't just take things at face value.
Absolutely not.
So it's critical.
Yeah, especially when it comes to information circulating online.
Threat.
One area they've been focusing on recently is AI.
Okay, AI. This is where things
This is the cutting edge.
get really interesting.
The future is now.
How are they using AI
Yeah.
in this context?
Well, they're developing algorithms
Okay.
that can analyze
Okay.
massive amounts of data
Mm-hmm.
to identify patterns
Okay.
and anomalies
Okay.
that might indicate a disinformation campaign.
So instead of relying solely on human analysts,
Right.
they're using AI.
To help sift through the noise,
Yeah.
identify potential threats.
More quickly and efficiently.
Machines are good at that.
Yeah, that's what they're good at.
Yeah.
These algorithms can learn
Right, they can be trained.
to recognize the subtle linguistic cues,
Mm-hmm.
the network structures,
Yeah.
and the behavioral patterns.
That are often associated with these campaigns.
It's like having a digital watchdog,
I like that.
constantly scanning the web for signs of trouble.
Always on guard.
And it's not just about detection.
It's also about countering.
Oh, wow, that's fascinating.
Using AI to fight fire with fire.
So they're using AI to fight fire with fire, so to speak.
In a way, yes, but it's a complex and controversial area.
Of course, I can imagine there are a lot of ethical considerations
Absolutely.
that come into play when you start using AI.
It's a powerful tool
Yeah.
to shape narratives.
DoubleThink Lab is approaching this very cautiously.
Oh, yeah.
They're engaging
Having conversations.
in ongoing discussions with ethicists, researchers, and policymakers
To make sure it's used responsibly.
to ensure that these technologies are used responsibly and ethically.
It's a powerful tool.
Yeah, it's a reminder that technology
Right,
is
yeah.
a powerful tool and it can be used.
For good or for bad.
Yeah, for good or bad.
This has been an incredibly insightful, but we're not done yet.
More to come.
In part 3, we'll explore the impact DoubleThink Lab is having on the global stage,
Okay.
the challenges they're facing,
There are many.
and what the future holds for their crucial work.
The future is bright. So stay tuned.
Thanks for listening to the Daily Mind Brew podcast. Your voice matters. Don't miss the podcast summary, key takeaways, and action steps you can take today to protect democracy. Together, we can make change happen. And now, let's jump back into the podcast.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
It's good to be back.
We've spent the last 2 parts exploring DoubleThink Lab.
This remarkable organization,
Yeah, on the front lines of the fight against disinformation.
they are really leading the charge.
What's really struck me
Yeah.
is that they're not just focused on exposing the problem.
Right.
They're actively trying to equip individuals and societies
And resist these tactics
to resist these tactics and build resilience.
against this manipulation.
Yeah, it's not enough
Yeah.
to just be aware of disinformation.
It's just the first step.
right.
We need to understand how it works
Yeah.
and develop the critical thinking skills to identify it and resist it.
It's almost like they're digital first responders,
Oh, I like that.
rushing to the scene of an information outbreak
Okay.
and providing the antidote
Yeah, the antidote
to the poison.
of disinformation.
It highlights the urgency of their work
It does, yeah.
because we know disinformation can spread so quickly online, incredibly quickly.
And the consequences can be devastating.
Yeah, and we've seen that.
Absolutely.
We've seen how it can interfere with elections, erode public trust
In institutions, yeah.
in institutions, incite violence,
Undermine public health efforts.
undermine crucial public health efforts.
It's not just a theoretical problem.
Yeah, it's not theoretical at all.
It has real-world consequences that can impact every single one of us.
Now, given the global nature of disinformation,
Right.
I'm curious to know more about the impact DoubleThink Lab is having
Yeah.
on the international stage.
It's significant.
Are they working with other countries
Yeah.
or organizations to counter these threats?
Absolutely. They've been very intentional about building this global network of partners,
Yep.
including researchers, activists, journalists, policymakers from all over the world.
So they're not trying to tackle this alone.
Definitely not.
They're creating a united front.
Against disinformation.
Yeah, against disinformation, recognizing that this is a challenge that transcends national borders.
It absolutely does.
And that's so crucial because
Why?
these disinformation campaigns often exploit vulnerabilities
They do.
in the global information ecosystem.
Think about it. A campaign might originate in one country
Right.
spread through another,
Wow.
and then target audiences in a totally different part of the world.
It's like a complex web with threads connecting different actors and networks across the globe.
It's interconnected.
You need a coordinated international response to be truly effective.
You got it.
And DoubleThink Lab is playing a vital role
They are
in facilitating that kind of coordination.
sharing their expertise,
Yeah.
research findings,
What else?
even their tools with partners all over the world.
That's incredible.
Yeah, empowering others to join the fight.
No, I can imagine this kind of work
Yeah.
comes with its own set of challenges.
Oh, absolutely.
What are some of the biggest obstacles DoubleThink Lab is facing in this fight?
One of the most significant is just the sheer volume
Okay.
and speed of information online.
It's hard to keep up.
Disinformation is being created and shared constantly,
Feels like it never stops.
and it's impossible to keep up with everything.
It's like trying to drink from a fire hose.
That's a great way to put it.
There's just so much information.
Coming from all directions.
Yeah, all directions all the time.
And that means
What does that mean?
it's not enough to simply debunk individual pieces of disinformation.
Okay.
You need to address the root causes,
Okay.
the systems and structures that allow it to flourish.
So we need to be looking at the bigger picture.
What are some of those systemic issues they're trying to address?
Yeah, what are those systemic issues?
Well, they're tackling some really complex challenges like platform accountability,
Okay.
asking tough questions about how social media platforms and other online spaces are being used to spread disinformation,
Right.
and what responsibility those companies have to address it.
Those platforms have become so powerful.
They're the gatekeepers
Yeah.
in shaping public opinion.
They need to be part of the solution.
Absolutely. And DoubleThink Lab is also focusing on media literacy,
Yep.
helping people develop the skills they need to critically evaluate information,
I see.
identify bias, and recognize manipulation techniques.
We talked earlier about empowering individuals, and this
Yeah.
is a huge part of that.
It's about giving people the tools
Yeah.
they need to navigate this complex information landscape.
Which is getting more complex every day.
Yes,
And become more discerning consumers of information.
be critical thinkers.
Yeah, be critical thinkers.
Right, and beyond platform accountability
Mhm.
and media literacy,
Yeah.
they're even looking at even broader issues, like the very structure of the internet itself
Wow.
and how that might be contributing to the spread of disinformation.
That's really thinking big picture.
Thinking big.
Are there any specific examples of how they're trying to change those systems?
Yeah, one interesting example is their work with policymakers.
Oh, cool.
They're actively engaging with governments and international organizations.
Okay.
To advocate for stronger regulations and policies.
To combat.
To combat disinformation, yeah.
So they're not just doing research. They're trying to influence real-world change.
As we conclude our deep dive into DoubleThink Lab,
Yeah.
we encourage you
We encourage you.
to check out their website.
Explore their research. Consider how you can join the fight against disinformation.
This is a collective effort.
It is.
It's about protecting our shared reality,
Our democracy.
our ability to make informed decisions.
In an increasingly complex world.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us on this journey.
Stay curious
Stay skeptical.
and stay informed.